Hello guys, welcome back to another video in the React.js beginner tutorial series. In this video, we are going to continue where we left in the last video. If you look at the last video, we were created project, we were going through the project structure, what was there, what were the files available and everything. But we just left with a source directory alone that we are going to continue in this specific video. So let's jump directly into the video. So if you look at this directory, source, it is where all the components and its respective files would be present. There are many different files available. Let's start with setup test.js file. This file is specific for setting up a test that you will be writing, but we are not going to write any test, so I can just avoid it. And this report web vital.js file is all about collecting the metrics of your application that will help you to maintain or analytics for your performance of the applications. And then we are having logo.svg file. This is the logo that will come up once you start the application. I will be explaining you how you can start the application and those things. Index.js file is nothing but the entry point for the React.js application. So if you look at this, here we are having a React DOM.create node. Of course, we haven't discussed anything about virtual node component or anything. As of now, what you can do is just think that there is a React DOM package. If you can see here, as I explained, so React DOM is the package that was already installed. So from this package, they have access to this React DOM. Okay, this React DOM as a method called create root, which means it will create one root element. This is nothing but document.getElementById. Whenever in JavaScript, somewhere if you see document, which means it always points to the HTML document. Where we will have HTML document in the React application, we will be having only one HTML file that in the public directory. So let's open the index.html file. You can see in this index.html file, I have only one div, and that div element with id attribute value as root. Let me get back to the index.js file, and you can see from the document, from the HTML document, I am trying to query an HTML element which has id attribute value as root. Of course, we know that in the HTML file, I have a div element and that element id is root. So this is going to be the element that I'm querying from index.js file. So once I queried that, I will be getting the div element. So I'm passing that div element to this create root method that will eventually consider that as a root element, and underneath that root element, all the components, whatever that we are writing, everything that actually goes inside that browser DOM node. Okay, and that's what stored in the root variable. So within this root variable, I have access to the render method where I am trying to render the website content. Okay, what am I rendering? I'm rendering react.strict_mode and then app. What does this app is? What does this strict mode is? We will be discussing them. First, let's start with React strict mode. So what does it? So this strict mode actually helps you to, with more details whenever you are working within the development mode. Okay, this strict mode will not work in production, but it will work in the development mode. That helps you a lot in the development perspective. So this will give you a lot of details, like if you are using some of deprecated API, or if you are using some of lifecycle method that is unsafe. Let's say example, we are having a function component. Previously, we were using class component. If you are using any class component method, then obviously you will be getting some problem. So those things will be maintained by this strict mode. Keep in mind, strict mode is only for development, not for the production. If you are not aware of what is function component, what is class component, don't worry, we will be discussing them in the next video onwards. As of now, that's what strict mode is. Strict mode is only for development purpose, that will give you warnings for all the unsafe lifecycle methods or any kind of deprecated API and those things. Okay. And then I'm having app. What is this app? This app is actually coming from here. Where it is from? It is from current directory app file. So here you can see there is a file called app.js that has some code. That code will get rendered here. Okay, don't get confused. I just reiterate everything one more time. I have a development in the HTML document. I just query the development. I consider that as a root element for the DOM, React DOM. And within that root element, I'm going to render my React application source code. In this render method, you can see I passed the specific lines. So one is open tag of react.strict mode. Strict mode works only in the development, not to the production environment. In the development, this strict mode gives you more details whenever you are using any such kind of unsafe methods or deprecated API, those things. Okay, that will help us in a lot of ways. That's why it is working only in the development mode. It will not work at all in the production mode. And then I'm having an app. What is this app? Let's jump into app.js file. So if you look at it here, this is the content of a specific file called app.js. In the introduction video itself, I would have explained you that React is a component based architecture. This app.js file is actually a component. I am using this component in index.js file. Okay, that's what it is. Now, there will be a question. What is component? Of course, we haven't discussed that. In the next video, we will be discussing them. No questions, no worries. Just follow my instructions. You will be able to follow up. Okay. So as of now, this app is nothing but a component. This component is actually coming from app.js file. How does one file function is accessible to the another file? Because I'm exporting it. Just export. That's it. Okay. Just we are exporting so that someone can import and they can make use of it. And that's what actually happening it here. Right. So the next thing is, this is just the HTML code, just plain HTML code. Okay. Next, we will be discussing about component. At the time, you will understand the structure and everything. But as of now, these are all the default file. Apart from this app.js, I have app.css file. Here, you will be having all the CSS related files, styles related files for the app.js component. And then I'm having app.test.js. Of course, this is a test file. We are not going to do anything. Then I'm having index.css. Just again another CSS file that targets index.js file. That's it. Now, that's all about the files and folder structures of inbuilt React. We are going to start the application. How will I able to start? Let's jump to the package.json file. Here is where we will be having all the details. So first, we don't need dependencies. We have already installed the dependency. We will work with the script. By default, it comes with this 4. If you wanted to change this start to anything else, your name or whatever that is, of course you can do so. Okay. I'm not going to do. What am I going to do is I'm going to give npm start. This start is exactly the same as this one. So when I do npm start, it will internally execute React script start so that application start running on. If you wanted to change anything, let's say example start to something else, let's say example started to Gopi. In that case, you should not use start directly. Instead, npm run Gopi. Likewise, you have to give, because that start is the inbuilt command. Okay, it's an inbuilt command, so it works without a run. But Gopi is not an inbuilt command, that's a customized one. So we are explicitly informing React or Node to run this specific script from the package.json file. That's what it is. Start is the inbuilt alias name. That's why it by default works with npm start. Let me change this to start back, and we don't need this as well. So npm start. Let me hit enter. You can see React script start. Okay, this is same as this command. So that's what internally actually running. Okay, now you can see the project is up, and this is the default template that comes with Create React App project. What I do is I will just go ahead and change the code and see what are all the changes that you will see here. Let me close. We don't need this terminal, and you don't have to stop this. That will eventually restart for after every save you are doing. Let me close this. I will be just doing the code cleanup. Whatever that I don't need, I will just delete it. First, I don't need any test file, so let me delete. We don't need this vital file as well. Let's delete. We don't need this logo svg file. Let's delete. Index.cs file, I will just clear up everything. App.test file, I don't want anything. App.js file, let it be. We will be first clearing up the CSS file, and I will just remove everything within this div. I will just put welcome to React training from absolute scratch. And we don't have any inbuilt class called app. I can even remove this. Just to the empty div is enough as of now. I have deleted all those files, right? If I have any such references in this, I can even delete that. You can see there is an import. I said this app component is exported. If someone export, someone will import, right? That's what it is. So logo file was within this src directory. I have deleted that. So you wanted to import that source file into app file. So I don't have. When I was having, I was imported. Now I don't have that. Let me delete it. That's it. Okay. And app.cs file, that's it. That's all. Nothing wrong. And see if it has any error in it. You can see here I don't have a report vital. I have to delete that. That's it. And then getting back to, I don't need this logo file. Of course, let it be the favicon. And in this index.html file, I don't need any of this. Nowadays, every browser supports JavaScript, so I don't want it to keep this no script at all. Let's delete that. That's it. And you can even delete whichever that is not required. I'm not going to do any other changes. React tutorial by Credo Systemz. Okay, and that's it. That's all about the HTML file. I have cleaned up whatever that I don't need. Everything I have done so. Okay, that's all. This is how your project should be. If I go back to the browser screen, you can see whichever that I have wrote in the app.js component file, that only rendered here. Why? Because that's how the project is. Okay, in the syntax.js file, I asked it to render app component. So if I get into app component, you can see it returns only welcome to React training from absolute scratch. That's it, and that's what application is all about. Now we have cleaned up the project however the way that we wanted. In the next video we will be start understanding what is component, what is function component, and what was class component, what is the different, when to use which component, and those things, so that you will be having some basic understanding. Then we will be jump on to creating our own component and those things. We will be just starting with the little things so that you'll be having very good understanding. If you have any questions, need any clarification on any of those things, please put it in the chat box. I'll be just referring them and then reply as soon as possible. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribe to the channel. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye, take care, stay tuned.